the war that killed 90% of the nation's men. The War of the Triple Alliance was horrendous. It cost one nation 2/3 of its territory. 90% of the male population perished, and it was all started by one crazy ruler. Today, he's considered a national hero. His name was Francisco Solano Lopez. Lopez was the president of Paraguay. He dreamed of becoming a South American Napoleon. Paraguay was a formidable regional power. It had a large military and was reasonably wealthy, but it only had 500,000 people. In 1864, Brazil backed a revolution in neighboring Uruguay. Uruguay was an ally, so Lopez decided to lend a hand. Brazil was a nation of 9 million. Yet the Paraguayans struck first. They seized a Brazilian steamship on Lopez's orders. Then they invaded Mato Grosso, Brazil. 6,000 Paraguayan troops occupied several towns in the region. Then it all went downhill for Lopez and his country. Brazilian-backed rebels in Uruguay won. Now Paraguay had two enemies, Brazil and Uruguay. By December, 6,000 Paraguayans had been KIA. Lopez decided to retaliate against Uruguay. To reach it, his troops had to cross Argentina. The 2 million country had nothing to do with the conflict. But in 1865, the Paraguayan parliament declared war on Argentina. Lopez launched another invasion, seizing some Argentine towns. This pushed Argentina into a coalition with Brazil and Uruguay. The Triple Alliance was officially declared on May 1, 1865. This marked a major shift in the war. Paraguay was wildly outnumbered. It was nearly completely surrounded geographically. Its seaports were blocked by hostile navies. Paraguayan ships were seized, one by one. Weapons, food, and medical supplies became scarce. The Paraguayans lost most of their flintlocks. They had to fight with swords and lances. Meanwhile, Brazilian and Argentine forces wielded rifles. Disease decimated Paraguayan military camps. 50,000 soldiers died of smallpox, scurvy, edema, and cholera. At the peak of the cholera outbreak, the death toll was 50 per day. Lopez responded by expanding the draft. He lowered the drafting age from 16 to 13. He opened up the ranks to convicts. The remaining civilian populations were moved inland. Entire towns had to be evacuated. The buildings and fields were burned and razed. Lopez believed the scorched earth policy would stop the invaders. Inflation skyrocketed as the government printed more money. Hunger and poverty became endemic. Most of the food produced was sent to the army. The devastating war lasted for more than 5 years. In early 1870, Lopez personally led his troops into battle. On March 1, 1870, he found himself face to face with the enemy. Lopez lay wounded by the side of a stream at Cerro Cora, Paraguay. He was found by Brazilian General José Antonio Correia de Câmara. Câmara called on him to surrender, guaranteeing his life.
"I die with my nation,"
replied the Paraguayan. He tried to attack the general with his sword and was killed. Thus ended the costliest war in American history. 400,000 had been killed. Nearly 75% of them were Paraguayan. The Triple Alliance established a triumvirate to rule Paraguay. Marshal Francisco Solano Lopez is honored as a hero today. His face appears on the 1,000 Guarani coin. It's worth about 13 cents.